All my dreams are coming, all my dreams are humming, all my dreams are coming true.
Hello lovely humans, my name is Sarah and welcome back to the channel Taking Whisks, where I help you sustainably consume on a budget. Now today, we're doing something that I don't think I've done on this channel yet. I don't know if you've heard of Beeswax Wraps. They're pretty popular, but in case you haven't, they're a piece of cotton that has been covered with beeswax, tree resin, and jojoba oil, and I love these things. My mom got me 2 for Christmas, and I was so excited, let me tell you, because, okay, let me show you. So, when I first made them, probably like 3 years ago now, it was very, very close to when I first started really thinking about sustainability, and I saw these beeswax wraps and I'm like, I can make that, no problem. Bad idea. Because let me tell you, I didn't follow a recipe. I just melted a little bit of beeswax on a piece of cotton and it sort of worked, but it didn't really stick the way I wanted it to. And that was mostly because I didn't follow instructions. I just put beeswax on cotton. And for some people it works fine, but for me I really wanted the pliability and stickiness that this one could handle. So for a long time, I just didn't buy them because they are so effing expensive. And understandably so, because if you're getting something that is organic cotton and sustainably produced beeswax and tree resin and jojoba oil, then obviously it's gonna be a little expensive because that's just how it be. So I thought today I would try and make some and spend less than they usually cost. Now, I don't know how much these ones cost, but you can usually get a pack of 3 for like $15, I think. It depends on the size, but today I thought try and not only make some, but also try and make some with sustainable resources. So, something you should know about making beeswax wraps is that for the cotton, you're going to want 100% cotton first of all, and you're also going to want thinner cotton, so look for quilting cotton or sheets that you don't use anymore. So all of this fabric, there's a really cool shop in my town that basically you can donate a bunch of fabric and a bunch of like sewing materials and whatnot, and you can get them for really, really cheap by the pound. And so I'm really, really fortunate in that. So I got these 2 things there, and this is just some beautiful sunflower fabric. I absolutely love this. And it feels like cotton, so I'm pretty sure we're okay. And then for this, I actually went to my local thrift store and got some sheets that somebody had donated. I cleaned all of this fabric before using it. This fabric is a lot more sustainable because we're giving it a second life. For these sheets, I think I paid $5. And then for this fabric, I paid less than $1. I got a whole like giant bag for $1. But the sheets were also really, really big, so I can't say that this one piece was $5 either. So let's just estimate. So I got all of this. I got all of this fabric for $5. Insane. That is about $5 per little section. So let's just say about 45 pieces of fabric. Let's say I can make roughly about 45 of these out of that fabric. $5 divided by 45 pieces of fabric comes to about 11 cents per piece of fabric. Awesome! Perfect! We're already on the way to spending way less than $15 for 3 pieces. So we are going to try to spend less than that in this instance. So what you're gonna need for these fabric pieces is what I did is I just cut out a piece of cardboard to get the size that I wanted. And you're also gonna need some pinking shears and a pen. Now, you don't necessarily need a pen, but I can't cut straight, so I use a pen. I would also just grab a regular pair of scissors that can cut fabric. Let me just show you. This is a big piece of fabric. Go to the end. As you mark it, you're gonna give it about a 1/2 inch of room. This is just to make sure that you have enough room for the pinking shears to do their business. Okay. Once you've outlined the space that you want to cut, you're going to use your regular scissors and cut around the lines. Alright, after you've cut the outline, we're going to use our pinking shears and try to cut as straight as possible. These are not going to be professional. That's okay. It doesn't need to be. Alright, we are done. That is super thrifty. Alright, now that we have our piece of fabric, next is the fun part. We have about 2 smaller ones, 1 medium one, and 3 larger ones. You're going to want to make sure you have a pan propped with parchment paper. You're going to want something that you don't care about because it's going to get beeswax all over it, and beeswax is a pain in the butt to clean. So, something to keep in mind. So right here in this Pyrex we have 1.25 ounces of grated beeswax, mostly grated. This beeswax in particular is a local beeswax because we love to support the local bees. 1 tablespoon of organic jojoba oil, and then we also have 0.35 ounces of resin. Now this particular recipe calls for pine resin. I'm using frankincense resin. I don't know if it's gonna work the same, but I guess we'll see. The most important thing about this is that we need a double boiler situation. So as you can see, we're gonna boil the water here and melt the beeswax here. Okay, we're gonna put it on high and we're gonna grab a little stick. I just have an old chopstick that I'm using. I think it'll work fine. Okay, so most of that has been melted. There's still a little tiny chunk. So we're just gonna keep stirring and make sure that melts fully. And then we're gonna get another chopstick here and actually place the cloth in this. You're gonna wanna have your parchment really close by. You've got your cloth. I'm gonna roll up my sleeves and we're just gonna go to town. You are going to want to make sure that you have something that can stand extreme colds and heats when it comes to the glass. And we're not quite done yet, but we are on the beginning of being done. So once you've dipped it in the beeswax and it's cooled, you're going to go ahead and set it off to the side and we'll get back to it later. We're just going to go ahead and do the rest of the cloth. Next step is to paint the beeswax that you do have on here onto the rest of it. So we're gonna go ahead and set the oven to warm. So we made about 3 bigger wraps and 1 smaller wrap. Well, this is a medium wrap actually, with that one recipe, which is kind of insane. I wanted to compare the store-bought versus the homemade. The big difference that I can tell with the store-bought is that it's a lot smoother than the homemade, and I think that's because I use frankincense resin as opposed to pine resin. So that's my own fault. Let's see if it actually works better, or if it works the same. So we've got a bowl here, and the thing about Beeswax Wrap is that it works with the heat of your hand. So you have to make sure that you're working it around the bowl, just like so. And we're gonna do a gravity test. Nice. Okay, so we know that the store-bought works well. Let's see if the homemade does. This feels stickier. Sounds stickier. Looks pretty secure. Gravity test. Hey! That's so cool! Okay, but I do see that the homemade left a little bit of a residue. So I shouldn't have done what I did. Usually what I see is people painting it on, but I wanted to fast track it, if you will. So that's why I just dipped the whole cloth into it. But I think that actually worked to my disadvantage because I spent a lot of time trying to balance it out when I could have just brushed it on once and then not have to deal with the oversaturation. And the oversaturation leaves a mark. So if you are making these, I will advise you to at first actually brush the beeswax on and then put them back in the oven to make sure everything's even, and to use pine resin. I'm very happy. Hopefully that'll come off pretty easily. This one we're gonna do a smaller bowl because it's a smaller wrap. This bowl doesn't have a lid, so I don't know if this is going to work as well, but we're gonna try. Because the whole idea with beeswax is that the beeswax wraps is that it sticks to each other, and that's what makes it so effective. So this one actually has beeswax in it. Hey! Look at that! Okay, we left a little bit of residue. How easy does it come off? Pretty easily. Okay, cool. Alright, so in conclusion, I think I would make the beeswax wrap from the store is a lot smoother of a film. But I do have to say that these DIY ones actually worked pretty well when it came to adhering to the bowl. It did leave a little bit of a residue, so I wouldn't use these particularly to store food, but we could use these on top of the bowls to keep the food fresh. So use pine resin, don't use frankincense resin. I was trying to stay locally. I didn't want to buy anything online, and so that's why I ended up with frankincense resin, but here we are. Also with the DIY ones, I think instead of putting the cloth inside of the beeswax bowl first, I would actually brush it on and then heat it up in the oven afterwards. Those are kind of my takeaways. I want to try this again. I don't think this is a total success. It certainly wasn't fail. It just didn't quite meet up to my expectation. But overall, I made 4 wraps, and let's just do some quick math. Gosh, I used a little bit more beeswax than it called for. So let's just say I used 2 ounces of beeswax. I got 1 ounce of beeswax for $1.25. So it's just $1.25 plus $1.25, okay. Plus the 11 cents from the fabric. For the jojoba oil, it was $1.75 an ounce. And it was like 1/3 of an ounce. So $1.75 an ounce divided by 3, less the frankincense, which was I think $6 an ounce, 1/3 of an ounce with that too. So divided by 3. Okay, so the total cost for all 4 of these comes to around $5.19. That's not too bad. That is like 1/3 cheaper than the store-bought price. For a third of the cost, you get a little bit of bumpiness, but you get the same effectiveness. And I know exactly where these ingredients came from, and the cloth is from cloth that was just gonna go in landfill anyways. So this is Earth for the win moment. That's what I think. Some things you do want to keep in mind. This actually came with my little store-bought one. It says to hand wash in cool water with dish soap, and then hang to dry, fold, and store. They say you can reuse it for about 1 year. For the DIY ones, usually they say about every 6 months you want to refresh them, so that's something to keep in mind when you are making these, is that you're going to need to take that into consideration when they get old or when they don't have as much stickiness anymore. Do not use these for meat because they are not dishwasherable. It says to please keep your beeswax away from heat such as hot water, dishwasher, microwave, and ovens. Do not use for cutting on. A little fun bee fact, it says honeybees must consume 17 to 20 pounds of honey to produce each pound of beeswax. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to crunch that subscribe button and ring that dinner bell to get notifications on any new videos that I put out. A big shout out to Melise, who commented on my last video about 10 sustainable changes that anyone can do or make. It was another sustainable swap video. It wasn't my last video. It was my last week's Saturday video. They said that I would like to see you research the cleaning baking soda, except, ooh, okay, well that's good to know. In that video, you can actually go and watch it here. I talk a lot about different things that you can do for the environment to help be more sustainable. Also was like, hey, I'd love to make a video about different cleaning products and DIY cleaning and that sort of thing. So it looks like I might have to do that video next. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. It means the world to me. If you really like this video and you want to see me do more of these sustainable swap options, then go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you want me to do. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Just like a prisoner when his sentence ends, all my dreams are coming true.